Morning. Well, stuff certainly got real in Moon Knight episode 2. Or did it get fake? I am Haussmann from Haussmann Comics. Welcome in. We're talking about the latest episode of Moon Knight. Obviously, there's going to be spoilers for episode 2 of Moon Knight, so I recommend watching that first, then watching this. Either way, let's get into it. So I rewatched the first episode again, and I thought, for a second, I had a brief moment. I thought, what if these jackals are fake? What if everything is inside Moon Knight's mind, or Stephen Grant's mind? I was looking at the way the jackal was moving in the museum, and it wasn't interacting with anything in the museum. It was only breaking lamps and stuff in the back and the bathroom, obviously. And I thought, ooh, Mark still respects the museum enough not to wreck anything. And then when the security footage came up and we didn't see the jackal, I was like, oh, am I actually onto something here? But no, they're just invisible. They certainly can interact with the world, as Layla proved. I have no idea who Layla is. She definitely fits the bill of Marlene from the comics quite a bit, except for, she's his wife, and she wants to be the next avatar of Khonshu. She doesn't want to be. Khonshu wants her to be the next avatar. And Arthur Harrow was a previous avatar of Khonshu. Previous avatars of Khonshu are not a new thing. There was a World War II Moon Knight, there was a Cowboy Moon Knight. They're more recent addition to the comics, but they do exist. It seems odd to be jumping from lifetime to lifetime, but once again, this is a different interpretation of the comics. So I can't stay focused on that. Speaking of the comics, though, Arthur Harrow, once again, just not from the comics. He was a former scientist using Nazi science to make zombie people and control people and stuff. And he was disfigured. But he was from the Yucatan. And then they went to that restaurant, and Victor was from the Yucatan. And I think that's just a little fun reference. That's probably the only reference we're going to get to Arthur Harrow. But yeah, I'm really enjoying this episode. A lot of questions were answered, but more questions came up. So Mark Specter is a mercenary. He's more than 1987. Bullshit. Oscar Isaac's older than that, but that's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I grew up. Superheroes and stuff were all older than me, and now he's younger than me, and it's whatever. The costume, I'm still not a fan of the costume. I'm still not a fan of the costume, but in the wider shots, it looks great. I really like it. I'm not a fan of it. I'm more of a fan of it now than I was last week, if that makes any sense. Also, in the comics, I'm not a huge fan of Mr. Knight. I don't dislike it. I just whatever. But then when Mr. Knight showed up here, I was like, oh my god, so that is awesome. That is Steven getting a bit of the power, and then the way he interprets it, puts on the suit, is this Mr. Knight. And it shows he does have the strength. And it had the rip down the middle, which I actually really liked. I think that's showing his fractured mind or symbolism or whatever. I don't know. But no, I thought that part was really awesome. I liked the way Mr. Knight looked. And then when Moon Knight came in, once again, I'm not sure Mark Specter is necessarily a good guy. I think Stephen Grant is the good guy. Another thing I was thinking was that Stephen Grant was the character that Mark Specter kind of set up. He wanted to retire into that life. And he was like, I'm setting up this simple life. This is all I want, a nice simple life. But now actually I think he set up Mark Specter somehow. I'm believing that that's not just a fractured mind. I believe Mark Specter did some sort of training or something to set up Mark Specter to try and escape from Khonshu. Or to set that up to protect his wife from Khonshu. I still don't understand. She's obviously got the training and everything, but Mark Specter seems like a better avatar for Khonshu than Layla would. But yeah, I think Mark Specter might be, because we see him fight and he is kind of brutal. I mean, even though it is just a jackal that people can't see that turns into sand. But he impaled him right on a spike. But in the bathroom, he was brutal. And then they do show, or they say, the mercenaries there that Mark Specter was a part of, which is obviously Bushman and Frenchie and whatnot. Oh, if we get I think I've seen still images, promo shots from the set that show we are going to get some of that background. I think Layla is just Marlene, but as far as that is concerned, I believe Mark Specter is got good in him. I don't think he's a brutal bad guy, but he was a mercenary, so I'm not sure. Speaking of bad guys, Arthur Harrow, again, he's he starts giving his little speech, and I'm like, oh, is this going to be one of those bad guys that we think maybe is good from he's obviously good from his own point of view, but he's on the right path. Maybe I will agree with him in some way, shape, or form, because he's hey, evil people, I'm going to punish them and take them out of the world. But he's yeah, I'd kill a child if they were going to be evil, so sure. And then that homeless man that finds the scarab, he just kills him. He doesn't weigh him. So I don't know if that's something to look into and keep in mind. He was just I'm just killing you. I'm not weighing your fate. So, Arthur Harrow, bad guy. In case you had any doubts. But yeah, as I said, I was wondering there for a minute if this was just all in Stephen Grant's mind. And I don't know, Stephen Grant seems to have an entire history, and he's no, this is my life and everything. But I just don't know if he does. And maybe Stephen Grant was the child, and then Mark Specter became a thing. There's my alarm. And maybe that's what it'll be. Maybe it'll be that'll be the big twist. So if that's the twist, you heard it here first on Haussmann Comics. Like and subscribe. So cringy. Anyway, maybe that's the twist. Yeah, maybe Mark Specter is the created persona. I also wonder, is Jake Lockley going to come into play in any way, shape, or form? Obviously this is very different from the comics. Once again, very different. A part of me, as I said, was still wondering if the whole thing was just going to be in his mind, and I really hope they don't go that way. because then that kind of takes him off the table for the future of the MCU, or if they do go that way, but then they still keep him on the table for the MCU, it kind of just disregards the entire series that introduced him. Either way, like, I am still quite looking forward to it going forward, because I need questions answered. There are things I don't understand. And now they're in Egypt. I do love how Stephen Grant is getting stronger and stronger, so I now wonder, like, by the end of the series, is Stephen Grant going to be the dominant persona? Are we going to be seeing Mr. Knight more? I don't know. These are ramblings of a madman watching Moon Knight in the morning. Anywho, catch me next week for my quick thought. Hope we're not here for a play-by-play and deep analysis. This is my initial thoughts after the episode. Anyway, catch you next week.